A walleye doesn't bite, it inhales. The strike is a vacuum. Open the mouth, flare the gills, suck the bait inward. Half a second, no resistance, no tap on your rod. Most of the time, by the moment you feel anything, the fish has already taken your bait, decided it was wrong, and spit it back out. How that mechanism works, what to actually feel for, and why the way most anglers set the hook has cost more walleye than any other mistake. That's the whole video. Walleye are not built like bass. A bass crushes, it sees a lure, attacks it, locks its jaw down. That bone-crunching thump you feel up the rod is the actual bite. You set the hook, the fish is on. A walleye doesn't work that way. Look at the head. The mouth opens straight forward and the gill plates flare wide. When a walleye takes a bait, those two motions happen at the same time, and they create a vacuum strong enough to pull a 4-inch minnow into the throat in under half a second. This isn't a guess. It's how the whole family of fish in low-visibility water feeds. Perch, walleye, sauger, even some pike behavior. They are designed to inhale, not crush. The teeth are for holding what they sucked in, not for breaking it. Slow it down for a second. Picture the strike in your head as 4 separate moves. 1. The walleye sees the bait, lines up the angle. 2. The mouth opens straight forward. The gill plates flare to the sides at the same instant. That simultaneous open and flare is what creates the vacuum. 3. The bait travels into the mouth on the rush of incoming water. 4. The mouth closes, the gills relax, and the bait is now inside the throat with the teeth already starting to grate it. Edible or not, real or not, all 4 of those moves happen in under half a second. Faster than you can blink. Faster than your rod can transmit information up the line. By the time the slowest part of the chain, it's your eyes and your hand, even know something happened, the fish has already made its decision. And here's what that means for the angler. There is no thump. There is no jolt. There is a slight pressure change, a tightening of the line that lasts maybe a second, and then it's gone. That's the whole strike. By the time your hand starts to react, the fish has already had your bait in its mouth, run it past the teeth, and decided whether to swallow or spit. Most of the time it spits, and your bait comes back to you a little chewed with no fish on the end. That's the picture. Now let's talk about why you can't feel it. 3 reasons most strikes go undetected. They stack on top of each other. Reason 1. Line stretch. Mono and even fluoro line stretch under load. A walleye's inhale creates a pressure change of maybe 2 ounces of pull. By the time that pressure travels through 30 feet of line with stretch built in, what reaches your rod tip is almost nothing. Braid changes this. We'll come back to it. Reason 2. Rod softness. Walleye rods are deliberately built medium light to medium for jig and live bait work. That softness is good for keeping a hooked fish pinned, but it's bad for transmitting the small pressure change of an inhale. A soft rod absorbs the tip movement before it gets to your hand. Reason 3. Slack. This is the biggest one. Most anglers fish with the line tighter than it needs to be. Tight line means the fish feels resistance on the inhale. Resistance triggers the spit response. The walleye opens its mouth, blows the bait back out, and your rod still doesn't move because there was nothing to move. So you've got line stretch eating the signal, a soft rod eating what's left, and a tight presentation that scared the fish off the bait before it ever committed. 3 losses stacked. You feel nothing. You don't even know there was a strike. This is why guys say walleye weren't biting on a day they were actually biting just fine. The fish were striking. The angler was deaf to it. There is one more layer. Even when you do feel the strike, the timing of the hook set is the next mistake. The instinct is to feel something and rip the rod up. Don't. We'll handle that in the next section. But think about what this means for the past 5 years of your fishing. How many walleye you've had in your mouth without knowing they were there? That's not a complaint. That's a window into how much your catch rate can change once you fix this. And here's the part that should sting a little. Almost every other fish in your lake has noticed this same advantage. Northern pike know the walleye is striking. Bass know. The smaller perch that get inhaled by the dozen know. The only one who doesn't notice is the human on the boat. The whole ecosystem above and below your boat is already adapted to the inhale. You're the last one to catch up. Once you do, the lake starts to feel like a different place. 3 changes in order. 1. Switch to braid for jig work. 20-pound braid with an 8 to 12 foot fluoro leader. Braid has near zero stretch. The slight pressure change of an inhale travels straight up the line to your hand. You feel things on braid you literally cannot feel on mono. This single change is worth more fish than the next 2 combined. 2. Fish with controlled slack. Not loose, not tight. The bait should fall on a semi-slack line so a feeding walleye can suck it in without feeling resistance. When the line goes from slow fall to suddenly stalled, or when you feel a tick that wasn't there a second ago, that's the strike. Not a thump. A change. 3. Wait, then sweep. This is the one most guys get wrong. When you feel that change, do not rip the rod up. Drop your tip a few inches, point the rod at the fish, count 1 second in your head, and sweep the rod sideways. The drop releases pressure so the fish doesn't spit. The count lets the bait reach the back of the mouth. The sideways sweep drives the hook through the corner of the jaw, the meat of the mouth, instead of pulling it straight back out. 1 quick word on the leader. The reason for fluoro instead of straight braid to the bait is that braid sits dark and visible in the water. In stained water, it barely matters. In clear water, a walleye that sees a dark line going to a bait will not commit. Fluoro disappears under the surface in a way mono and braid don't. The 8 to 12 foot length matters too, long enough that the visible braid is well away from the fish. Short enough that the leader doesn't tangle on the cast. That's the geometry. If you do all 3 changes, your catch rate on walleye will roughly double. Not because there are more fish, because you are no longer losing the ones that already wanted to eat. There is a 4th layer. Exact rod power, exact leader length for clear versus stained water, exact hookset timing for live bait versus plastic. Those are condition-specific calls. They live in the app where the rig and the timing change. Based on what you tell us about your lake and the day, the walleye has been doing this for millions of years. The inhale strike works because it's invisible to almost every prey fish in the lake. It works on us too. Think about how many other little things you've been doing the same way for years without knowing the fish has been beating you on every one of them. The line you pick, the slack you carry, the instinct on the hook set. Each one trained by what your buddies do, by what felt right the first season. None of it trained by what the fish actually does. You can keep fishing the way you've always fished and keep wondering why the bite was slow. Or you can switch to braid, fish a controlled slack, and learn what the inhale actually feels like. Once you feel one, you'll feel them all. And the next 10 years of your time on the water will be different from the last 10.